Hello, everyone. Another book club with women on the move. And today is Thursday, October 3rd. The year is 2024. And we're going to discuss another fabulous book. And I'll let the host of the book club share the name of the book, give us a background, and she's going to be leading the discussion. But first, we'll start with introductions. I'm Cindy.
I'm
Hi,
Harriet.
I'm Linda.
I'm Melody.
Della.
Sam.
Vivian.
And Zadie.
Awesome. So we are the illustrious women on the move, and there are two who are not with us tonight. So you'll get to see them at another date. So Harriet is going to host tonight's book club. She'll share the title, the author, and then we're going to dive into some awesome conversations about the book that she chose. So Harriet, take it away.
Okay, so we're going to go forward. My Kindle is acting up, but that doesn't stop anything. The title of the book is Quilly, and Quilly is set in post Civil War times. Well, no, it's even later than that, like at the turn of the century. And it centers around an unlikely relationship in the South between Quilly and who is African American, whose family has lived in the South for generations, and her ancestors were slaves. She encounters a gentleman who helps her when she is hurts her ankle, and he happens to be white, and they develop a friendship, and then later it turns into something more serious. But under the Jim Crow laws and things of that time, that kind of relationship was forbidden, and it could have ended in Quilly being killed to be in a relationship like that, and the young man shunned. So first of all, I'm going to ask everyone who read the book, who was your favorite character in the book?
Can I just say it was Bella?
Bella, yeah.
Quilly is her daughter.
That's right, Bella.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tell you, this thing isn't working.
No worries. I'll go since I blurted out. Sorry. I like Quilly. I really do. I just like her tenacity. So yes, I really liked her in the beginning. I have to say, I liked both Bella and Otto, and I thought I was gonna really like Otto even more, but I still like him. I just a little sad.
I'll go. I'll go ahead.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Okay, Quilly, of course, she was the main character of the book, so we know the most about her because she was in every single chapter and every single theme of the book. But I just love the fact that Quilly persevered. And I know we'll get into some discussions later, but I loved her perseverance and the fact that she had a positive attitude and she was always trying to do better. And if she didn't have enough, she was searching for a way where she could enhance and increase her bottom line. So I like Quilly.
I found Quilly resilient.
Yeah. I also found her resilient, and I kept coming, she needs a break. She needs a break. Give her a break. But you might not agree, but my favorite, the character that I lean more toward was Otto, because he was in the background. He couldn't come up front. I believe if times had been different, he would have stepped up to the plate, acknowledged that Quilly was his daughter, but he always made sure that they were protected, I never did read where it says he paid for that lawyer, but I believe he did. He made sure Quilly mom had a job. You might not have liked the circumstances of that job, but he made sure that money was going into that household. He got him a house. He just constantly looked out after that family, even though he couldn't publicly do all that he needed to do. But he was like always in the background, trying to make sure that they were taken care of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have to agree. I think I liked Otto probably the best
Wanted
as
him to
well.
do more.
Pardon?
I just wanted him to do more.
Yeah, but it's time.
That's true, but I guess
Mhm.
given the times, it wasn't
Mhm.
possible. For me, I know it sounds silly. There was a level of innocence too in his spirit that I
Mhm.
really enjoyed.
Right, at the
And I don't
beginning.
mean blind innocence, but the kind of innocence like hopeful, just a sense of maybe something's possible. Maybe I could be more, because I think in his soul he wanted there to be more. But as Harriet said, given the circumstances of the time, it wasn't realistic at all.
Like his
And
innocence.
I
He
mean, he
didn't.
both
He came
sat
to
and
this
angry.
country not knowing about the prejudice and the rules that were in place that he was
Yes,
required to follow. He didn't. He didn't know that. He had to
right,
learn that.
Yeah, he didn't
correct.
know a lot of the social
Right.
norms and mores of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next person. Who is your favorite character?
I'll go. I agree with him. I liked Otto. I liked Otto because he took care of him, even though times were different and he couldn't come forward, as the father. And I think he would have married Bella if he could, and Bella stopped that,
Mm-hmm.
but because he didn't know. And like Odella said, he made sure that they were okay and everybody around them were okay on there because they went through the depression and everything. So he made sure that they had a place to stay and food and a job.
Right.
So I liked him the best.
Well, I read the book a long, long time ago, and I'm committed to reading it again. But I liked Quilly because it seemed like everything happened to her, and she kept her head up throughout the whole thing. She kept her head up, and she was always finding a way to get out of her dilemmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked her the most.
So, how do you think Otto's wife felt? Do you think she had an inkling of how Otto felt about Bella?
If she did, it didn't blatantly let us know.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, it was kind of accepted that, the man was with servants. So I don't know if that was a reason because it's like, how could you, but Otto could have done because the book, it never said that, there were touches or anything that was inappropriate.
Mm-mm.
So I think that Otto did a good job of keeping a professional relationship and not letting on that, there were more feelings there. Everything seemed to me in the book from what was portrayed that everything was above board and it was just, this was their servant and, the wife accepted her and she was the help. But they still treated her. It wasn't like a normal situation where you had the help that was mistreated. This family was very kind to Quilly.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I also, though, don't think that that was all Otto. I do think Bella drew the line. And even coming back, she knew, like she had said, she still loved him, but that she knew that was the whole reason she left in the first place.
Right.
There just couldn't be anything between them. And I think she kind of set that boundary so that Otto never had to cross it, and then developing that friendship amongst the family. I think it made a big difference as well.
And then the most moving part was when Bella was dying, he would go to check on her often. And when he removed that locket, and he kept that
Yes.
locket as a memory of Bella and Quilly.
Yeah.
Correct. And you know, he had to have kept that hidden because Quilly's the one who saw him when he dropped it. And she saw that, and it's like, that was her mother's locket, and she was looking for that. And then, you know, she put 2 and 2 together. So wherever he kept that close because his wife never found that.
And he took it to the hospital with him. He didn't leave it at the house.
Yes.
So he took it to the hospital because that's how she found it when it fell.
Exactly. And, you know, it could be that he always kept it on his person.
Yes.
Yeah. Next to his heart.
Yeah.
Yes.
So would you say that,
I was thinking, getting back to Harriet's
Go
question
ahead.
about,
go ahead, Odella.
I also said, getting back to your question about whether or not his wife knew, she probably suspected there was something between them, but I'm not sure that she questioned it, because I think women during that time, their role was more subservient to their husbands, and they didn't necessarily question much of anything. And the reason why I say that, think about the relationship that blossomed silently between his son and Quilly. They didn't know that they were siblings. There was no inkling that there was any askew. And kids know to consciously what it was suggested there was some knowledge to be had.
So would you say that Otto never stopped loving Quilly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't stop.
He loved her until the day she died.
Mhm.
And he would have married her if he could. He just didn't know that that was not allowed.
So how do you think Julius played into this whole thing? That was Bella's husband?
Right. I think Julius became, and I don't think he knew that Bella was pregnant. And I'm not even, to be honest, I don't know that Bella knew. You know, and but he, like she said, she grew to love him, but she didn't initially, but she liked him, you know. And I think for her, she needed to get away from where she was at. And that was the best solution for her, because I do feel her feelings were very strong for Otto, and she just never wanted to get to either mess him up or themselves.
Exactly. And I think Bella, she really understood this is not allowed. So she wouldn't allow herself to go there. She just buried those feelings, put it to the side, because she never pined after him. So she just buried that. And Julius, he was in the story such a short period of time, but then when he was gone, she definitely mourned his loss. She felt the loss of him, because that was sad. You know, it's like, he's here today. You know, you accept him, we get used to him, and then he's here, everything's fine, and then, you know, tragedy struck and he was gone. Never saw him again.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what was so sad to me was that Julius accepted her and accepted Quilly and no worries. And then she goes back to her own father and no acceptance whatsoever. That was shocking to me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
that
in
was
sense,
shocking.
I think on some level he accepted her, but there was certainly no acknowledgement that there was a relationship beyond servant.
Yes.
But I think, I don't know, I do believe that Bella loved him, And I think that love was different between her and her husband, because as someone said, she grew to love him, because you can grow to love someone, kind of like the old shoe that's comfortable.
Yeah.
And you like the feel of those shoes on your feet. But it's not that hot and lusty kind of love, if that makes any sense.
It does.
So
Mhm.
it was an interesting book. That's all I can say. I just my emotions kept going back and forth, really wanting them to be able to acknowledge that there was something, but knowing that it wasn't even possible. And that was sad, that two people could have that strong a connection, but never be able to acknowledge it.
Mhm. And to go with what you said, Odella, it's they loved each other enough not to push the envelope.
Yeah.
And that's very powerful to
It
me.
is. It is, because it's unselfish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I felt that, well, when Bella got pregnant, pretty much her dad was kicking her out, even, right at the beginning on there when she met Julius and, I'm going to marry him. Well, get out, they were awful. Her dad wasn't nice to her at all
Correct.
on there.
So-
So when she did start to love Julius, and then all of a sudden he's gone,
Mm-hmm.
I felt so bad for her, just like, oh my gosh.
I know
He's-
she's
he's
finally
dead.
getting a break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
somebody
Right.
to love her and be there for
Right.
her, that she can
Right.
acknowledge openly. And then it's just,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then he
that
was
sad.
gone. That was
Mhm.
sad.
And it was
And how he
Go
didn't know
ahead.
that he did not know that wasn't his baby, but he accepted it. The baby came
Right.
here, didn't look like mama, didn't look like daddy, but he didn't question it. That was still his baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I really thought he, in that point, because he didn't question it, he said, "This is my wife, this is my child." That garnered a lot of respect
Yeah.
from me for him.
Yeah, I agree.
And then that, because if he would have turned and said, "Well, that's not my baby," then she would have had all of this social ridicule and stuff to deal with. But he covered her.
He
Even
did.
though he knew she didn't love him, he still covered her and protected her. And that goes a long way.
Surely does.
Speaking of to who he was as a man.
Amen, Harriet. Very well said.
And there was something I highlighted. And we talked about Julius and how much he was excited to be a father. So it didn't matter to him. That was a big thing for him. So when it came to when Quilly returned home, how do you think she felt when she returned? Had to return home?
Bella
Bella.
when she went home.
Yeah, Bella when she went home. Yes.
I don't think she wanted to go back, but she had nowhere else
No
to
choice.
go. So
Yeah.
she had to go back to where she knew, and hope everything was going to be okay. And then when she got back there, her dad wouldn't, take her in. Then what do you do? So
Right.
she had to humble herself and ask for a job,
Right.
Correct.
Right.
But we never hear about him again, her father.
Right.
So it's interesting, but yet they still lived in the same place. So he had to have known what she was doing, or what I just think he would have to know. But it was so sad to me that he just never again,
Mhm.
Correct. And sometimes back then, people, you would see it a lot more with men, that if they turned their backs on you, there was no going back.
Mm.
It's like, you're just out of my mind. You're out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
But this is the part I didn't understand. She was married when she had her baby. She was a
Right.
married woman. So why did he still reject her when she came home?
Do you think he knew about
When he saw the
Otto?
baby?
When he
Those-
saw the baby, that was a question.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because the baby
Yeah,
was
that's right.
light skinned, you know.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think that's why he rejected her.
Mm. And
But you wait till she's an adult to do that. That's the kicker. I'm
mm,
assuming, she was around, he was around when she was a child. Didn't say or do anything, but you wait till she's an adult. That was like a slap in the face.
yeah.
And then, even still, the child comes out. It's like, even if you think that, how do you know she wasn't taken advantage of? But it's like,
Mhm.
men were a few words, many times they were a few words. So they didn't ask any questions. He just assumed, came to his own conclusion, and that was that. How does he know she
Mhm.
wasn't taken advantage of? And then
Right.
sometimes even
Yes.
parents, they know their child has been taken advantage of, and they'll still tell the child, what was your fault? It's like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So,
What really surprised me about him was that, they didn't know the science behind genetics that we know now.
correct.
But it was still possible in that day. If there had been some shenanigans after, in the slave quarters, or after the Emancipation Proclamation, that children could still come out looking like one of their ancestors.
Correct.
Mhm.
And I just think I think he had a part, and I think it might have been a pride thing for him. I don't know, but I was surprised at his reaction.
Mhm.
I agree. I was too.
I want to go to really quick the conversation, or what happened between Bella and Otto when she showed up at his house. And when she came back, she needed a job, and she was told to go to this house. And it says in the book, it was a large white house with gingerbread trim, a well-kept yard, and a picket fence. She drew in a deep breath, taking Quilly by the hand, and she marched to the front door and rang the bell. By good luck, or the Lord, Otto answered the door. When he saw her, his face was a mix of emotions. So where do you think? Oh, let me read this part. And he said, Bella, is that you? Why, sir, I'm Bella Winfried. I was told you might be seeking some daily help, and I came to inquire about the position and the wages, Bella stated flatly. She wanted him to know that she had not come to threaten him or ask for charity.
Mhm.
Why do you think that she did that? Why was that her mindset?
I think even then she was still drawing her line. She was,
Mm.
she still knew, and she knew he was married. So
Yes.
she wanted to make sure he understood it was not her coming back to him, but that she was truly seeking to provide for her family.
Mhm.
Exactly. And she wasn't trying to create problems for him. So it was important that she said that, because his emotions, I'm sure he's thinking, oh my gosh, so many things. I'm married, I have a wife, I still care about you. I want you, I have feelings for you. You're here. What's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
And it was important for her to do that. But then it was cold because but it was proper. It was appropriate for that time. He told her she had to go around to the back door, which, she
Yeah.
should have in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because where she might have drawn the line in the sand, it wasn't a straight line, it was a squiggly line.
Yeah.
You know? So on some level, she was hoping that whatever friendship or relationship they had, it would soften his heart enough
Mhm.
to give her a job.
Correct.
Mhm.
And it did, didn't it?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And then he asked, was Quilly his? And she said,
Right.
no, she's mine.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Which
Talk
didn't
about
really answer the
avoiding she
question.
didn't answer the question.
Yeah, it
Right.
didn't answer the question.
right. She didn't, I guess she didn't want to lie, but she just,
Correct.
she's mine. And we
Right.
just have to leave it there,
No more discussion.
Right.
She and how do you think she felt tending to Otto's family and his wife, and they're having these children and they have this life, but she's really on the outside looking in.
I think
think
it goes
she-
back.
Odella.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it goes back to what we initially said. She drew the line, whether it was a solid line or a dotted line. She knew her place,
Correct.
and she had accepted in her heart of hearts and in her mind that she was there to serve that family.
Exactly. Because we
I
never
don't think she
saw,
gave herself permission to
yes,
acknowledge anything.
exactly. And I don't think she pined after the lifestyle because she knew that wasn't hers. And everything, she was kind to his wife, with
Mhm.
everything,
Mhm.
helping with childbirth, with the
Mhm.
kids. So it was always, I'm here to serve you. It was never like, she knew that wasn't her life. It never could be, but she served
Mhm.
well. She really did.
Hmm.
And the
I think
wife
it might have been
adored
different.
her too.
Yeah.
I think it might have been different if Hildy or Mama Kriegel is what they said, I think. If she had been a different person, if she had been kind
Right.
of Mrs. Montgomery or something,
Right.
Mhm.
then I think Bella probably would have felt differently. But it even said in the beginning how, she was likable. She was kind. She was not, you know, she wasn't your typical, like, treating people.
Master. Mhm.
She
Mhm.
truly did treat her kindly, and she
Mhm.
appreciated that she helped her with the kids and the cooking and everything that she was doing. So
And I think
Yeah.
that goes back because she was an immigrant also, so she probably didn't know the social mores and things. So
Mhm.
it wasn't in her compared to Mrs. Montgomery. Now,
Correct.
she was a piece of work. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that had a lot to do with it, that they were new to this country and she hadn't learned
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
you treat your people who work for you this way or stuff, except for you go to the back door. She learned that real fast.
Right.
Mhm.
But I think that was part of it because they were so new to this country themselves and they didn't experience that back in probably in was it Germany?
Germany.
So
Mhm.
they didn't have all that mistrust, misunderstanding, I'm better than you completely
Right.
mindset.
That American mindset.
Right.
So let's go to, I know our time is getting away, the experience that Quilly had with Mr. Gottberg. Yeah, Gottberg. How did that play into the story? Were you surprised that that happened?
I think I knew it was going to happen, but that's where I got frustrated with the family because I just feel a couple of words that they could have done differently, and maybe the lawyer should have prepped them, or maybe they couldn't. I don't know the circumstances, but had they just have said something a little bit that he wasn't quite as a stand-up man, I just don't think Quilly would have gotten as bad as she got. I think if they could have come to her defense a little bit more, and I do understand, keeping errors, but I don't know, this is your family and you asked her to be there. So that was a hard one. That was where my because I really liked Otto. That was where, and I know he got her the lawyer. I know that stuff, but he still didn't show up for her. And I think that's what made me so sad. So
Correct. And wasn't the daughter's name Hannah?
no,
Neither did
Mhm.
Hannah. She knew her husband. He had been beating her. She knew that. She probably was relieved that this
Yeah.
man was dead. She probably
Quilly
like,
said that
"Whoa,
I did her a favor.
yeah,
Didn't she
right,
say that? She
right.
said, I did her a
to me,
favor.
that would have been
Yes.
a perfect time for her to come clean and say, no, he's actually been very hurtful to me. You know,
Right.
it
Correct.
seemed to me that would have been like the perfect opportunity, but
time.
maybe
They
I
had to
just
keep up
didn't.
appearances.
Yeah, maybe I just
Exactly. They
didn't
had to save face.
yeah.
They
And I
couldn't
was
air
wondering in the
their
back of
dirty
my mind,
laundry.
did Hannah plan this? Well, you know your husband was abusive, and why would you
Mhm.
put someone to go to your home and stay there all that amount of time
Right,
when you know
right.
what kind of man he was?
Well,
Right.
exactly.
Oh,
And I just think,
I didn't
what
get
kind
that
of
part.
friend was that? You know, you grew up
But yes,
together and all of that, and you put your friend in harm's way.
but Harriet,
But I get
they were childhood friends, but there's still a line. You
right,
have
right.
servant
That's true.
and master. So there's Quilly was expendable. And she knew her husband was gonna do that, but she probably thought that her husband would just rape Quilly and it'd be okay.
Yeah.
She didn't know Quilly was gonna
Right.
kill him.
Yeah.
Right.
Too, at that time, especially then, a Black woman was not regarded as, you know, to be respected and that kind of thing.
Correct.
Really, this is still a generation out of slavery. So that's
Yeah.
still some of that mindset. I think I was trying to apply my 21st century mindset to it.
I think so.
It's true.
And I think Hannah didn't speak up at the trial because it would look bad on her. You
Correct.
know, in that time, women didn't say what went on in the household, you know, so they just kept their mouth shut all the time. So she didn't want to say anything because then she would look bad. So she just kept her mouth shut and let Quilly go to prison, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that would like paint a bad picture on the family. Those things
Family.
all family, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so
And she had been hiding. Remember, they said she was always wearing the long sleeve
yeah,
dresses.
she was bruised.
Bruised,
Right.
had her bruises. And,
And I know
I'm sure Otto and the brother saw that, but nobody said anything.
it's almost like it's not our business.
Right.
Right.
No,
right.
but you know, but family secrets were traditionally kept hidden,
Yes.
and everybody could know the secret, but nobody talked about it.
That's
It's almost like
right.
it didn't even exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So very selfish, a very selfish
I
disregard.
know she was happy though. She was happy he was
You
gone.
know she
Yeah,
was.
she
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 was
said
probably
that.
kicking up her heels.
Really did her a
exactly.
favor. But I do like, you know, even though they didn't step up during the trial, I was appreciative of Otto's behind the
The
scenes,
scenes.
Correct.
helping her to get out of prison, to work for this the
Yes.
governor.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
said, okay, Otto's still looking out for her.
Exactly. So that was, I appreciated that because wasn't she still in prison for like 5 years or something?
Something like that.
Oh,
Yeah, 5 to 7. Right.
Yeah. And I know he paid for the lawyer, you know,
Of
that she
course.
had.
Of
But they
course.
can't really do a whole lot because a Black woman killed a white man. So
Correct.
that's
Right.
you're
And he-
guilty. Well,
And
no
he
matter
probably
what.
couldn't come forth and say, well, I'm paying for her lawyer, because the community would have said, why are you paying for the lawyer for the woman who killed your son-in-law?
Right.
Right.
Your grandchildren's father.
Father.
So
Correct.
that's why he had to keep it quiet.
Yeah, he had to think about the social ramifications of
Right.
what he was, you know, all along the way, he had to think about that.
Yeah.
Because as I
It
was
affect
saying,
his business and family and everything else.
yeah, they probably would have ran him out of town. You never know. They probably would have burned his house down or something.
Mhm.
But and I I know this is how I felt. I felt he knew in his heart of hearts the whole time that Quilly was his daughter, but it was
Oh,
just painful that he couldn't acknowledge it. And at death, pretty much.
mhm. Well, he said because he asked was the daughter, and then it said he was mad, but he wanted to hug her because he knew, it was his, but he couldn't, and so he knew that was his daughter.
And that's why he remember when the brother and Quilly was kind of doing whatever they was doing when they were younger, and he beat the
Mhm.
boy so bad.
Yes,
He
Mhm.
was trying to protect his, but he couldn't come out and say, "Well, you can't mess with her
Mess
because
with your
that's your
sister.
sister."
Yeah.
So
Right.
he just took out his anger on beating the child
exactly.
Yeah.
of
But
the
I'm glad you,
son.
exactly, like father, like son, Otto,
Mhm.
Bella, Anders,
Uh-huh.
Quilly.
Yep.
Thank you. Those, that daddy and son like they like that
They
family
like black
life,
women.
but in the same family, Zadie,
Yeah, I know.
mother and
Mhm.
daughter.
Yes.
They had the same taste.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But Anders, he loved her. He
He
loved
He
her the
truly
did.
loved her.
whole
He
time.
truly did. But you know, one thing, he loved her, number one, but what really solidified that love to the core was when he lost his leg.
Right.
Yeah.
And she
Mm.
was there for him, and she
Yeah.
always treated him the same. Because you know, that was
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And she didn't
Yeah.
sugarcoat anything when she talked to Andres, like when he came and said he couldn't have babies, and she just, okay, you still gotta go on living when he lost his leg. Okay, you gotta
Exactly.
still go on living.
Mhm.
Correct.
So, she didn't sugarcoat. She just always told him what he needed to hear,
Right.
Right.
make him a better person.
And he would do
Exactly.
it because he was drinking. She told him to stop drinking. He
Right.
stopped,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I think she really caused, she made him live.
She
Mhm.
did.
Because he had pretty much given up on life.
He had.
And I think she saw what she had gone through, what her mother had gone through, and she said, okay, so that doesn't make the world stop. You have to keep going.
Exactly.
Right.
Especially when the wife come bringing these pregnant, what, 2 times?
Yeah.
Anders'
Lord
wife come
have,
up pregnant
I
2
know.
times.
His
And he
wife
knew
didn't care
those
a
weren't
lick
his
about him.
babies.
But
And
I
that's
thought
another.
that was I thought that was interesting that they were really carrying on a love affair in that cabin back in the woods. I was so happy
Mhm.
that they never got caught.
yeah.
Ooh. And when the book first started with Otto and Bella, I was like, I knew where that was going. You knew the first time at the opening of the book, I was like, oh no, please don't let Bella get, hurt behind this.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Because he's
Otto's going to be okay. She's going to be the one to pay for it.
right,
Mhm.
right. But yeah, and his wife, she was a hot potato mess. I mean, dang, you were early 1900s, Trent. Gee,
Exactly. But you know
that's a
what?
lot to bring you to come home with being pregnant more
Exactly.
than once.
But guess
I'm
what?
pregnant.
Otto's family was well respected. Otto had money. So I think she married the money.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah.
yep.
I really
Although
do.
she said her mom had money,
Mom
but
was,
that her
yeah,
mom
Miss
was real.
Montgomery, that mean
Yeah.
lady.
But that I think her, well, two things. And Quilly said it. Quilly asked her, have you talked to your wife why she did this or not? And he even said, no, I haven't. I think initially Lily, I think was her name. I think initially Lily did it because her mom was being relentless with her. And she,
Mhm.
in a
Wanted a
sense,
grandbaby.
didn't want to say he couldn't have children. You
Mhm.
know, she was protecting him to a certain extent, but then it just got to a point where the divide became so bad
Right.
because they didn't talk.
Mhm.
There just was no turning back from it. So I think initially she did it to save face with her mom and to protect him. But then afterwards, I just think she just stopped
Didn't
loving him.
care.
I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. But then where did it stem from? The mom, the money of the family, because what are parents always looking out for? You know, if you want your
Mhm.
daughter to be with someone, you're not going to put them with someone who's poor, broke, and hungry. You're going to
Right,
Mhm.
put a
right.
man of needs.
And I think it goes a lot, as we've said throughout the conversation tonight, how societal norms and expectations drive a lot of behavior. Because even back then, if you didn't have children, um, it was almost like, well, what's wrong with you? That
Correct.
was just a terrible thing that a couple didn't have children. So I think that's kind of why he turned away, whatever,
Right.
too. Because, and she didn't want that shunning either. What's wrong with you? It's not him, it must be you. So
Mhm.
they both had to think about the social ramifications of that. So we have 4 minutes left. If you could have rewritten the ending of this story, how would you have written it?
I don't think I'd kill off Quilly's husband when she met the husband.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have, a grandparent would have came out of nowhere and they looked exactly like Quilly and they were the parents of the first, Bella's first husband. So,
I like
it would be
that.
that Quilly was not Otto's child. And
That's
she
a
and
good
Andres could go off into the sunset.
Right, right. Does anyone else have a thought of how they would rewrite the ending?
You know what? It's like, I'm just going to read this epilogue. I think it's so beautiful. Anders died of a heart attack when he was 65 years old. Young. But back then, that wasn't so young. He left all his money to Quilly. Phenomenal. As promised, he would. She gave a huge amount to the National Kidney Foundation, Mount Holyoke Baptist Church, and bought a gravestone for her mother and Jeremiah's graves. Very sweet. She made sure that her grandchildren would have enough money to go to college. Wow, saving for her children's children. She left a blessing. And she lived to be 76 years old and was able to see the civil rights movement come to fruition. I thought that was awesome. And when I looked online, Quilly was really inspired by a real person, a Black maid born in the early 1900s in a small Texas town.
Hmm.
So, Harriet, did you know it was really based on a real person?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of the things that the author is Jan Strickland, and that was
Yes.
one of the things that they talked about with the book. You know how you can
Oh.
read the little
Yes.
background, and
Okay.
I typed in the author's name, and that's when I saw that information.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, exactly, online. So because on the novel, the book itself, it doesn't tell you those details, but when I looked online, I saw that. But I liked it. I mean, Anders was so supportive, and okay, he probably died from liver disease.
Mm-hmm. Drank
But
himself to death.
exactly. But at least he had some happiness, and so did Quilly,
Yeah.
So
I think for me, if I had to rewrite the ending, would be that Otto and Quilly connected earlier,
okay.
before he fell dead, so that they could have had they could have had a private father and daughter relationship, because she was his firstborn.
She was.
And so, because that was something both of them really desired, and I would have liked to have seen, if they didn't have but a month together, to recognize one another and have that quality relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
I think she was
And
going
it
back in the
is,
hospital to do that when she was returning into the hospital. She saw him in the hallway. He called out her name, then he fell dead.
yeah, I was like, oh.
I know, and maybe something would have happened you know, we can hope in our minds. I mean, that was a beautiful moment right there, you know.
What's interesting to me about that, even with the fact that you know, they had that moment, but his money still came back to her
Mm-hmm.
because Andres left it for her. So it's
Yeah.
it's interesting how, you know, she still ended up with Otto providing for her.
Exactly. Full circle.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is 7 o'clock.
All right. Well, Harriet, thank
Quilly.
you for this beautiful book club, Quilly, a novel by Jan Strickland. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully everyone else did too.
Yes.
Yes.